uh, when a company wants to recruit a certain number of people, ठीक है, it can choose at least three different ways to recruit people. The first is going to a university where it has access to freshers, in thousands of numbers. And if it has to choose maybe 100 people, if it needs 100 people, 100 workers in the entry level jobs, for the entry level jobs, I think that is the best place. Okay, why that is the best place? Because it is cheaper for me, because it is the most economical alternative for me. Okay, why do you think it's economical? Because I have access to 3,000 people, and I don't have to set up a place. I don't have to hire an office. ठीक है, I don't have to devote my office का time या फिर office का space, time to obviously, like, these HR people, they are at least coming here, और department के heads भी लोग आ रहे होंगे, and then they would choose, the people, they would interview people. So I think this is the cheapest way for them to access a lot of people with almost no skills at all, but freshers and entry level jobs ke liye, and on less, not less, but on entry level salary, if we can say, we can call. So it's cheaper for them. What is the other way to have employees? I think if a company has an opening for, say, three or four people, or more, maybe 10 people, it can choose to. And if these are middle level jobs, or even fresher jobs, even entry level jobs, but the requirement is less, so they don't need to go to a university and interview 3,000 people to choose just 10 out of them, right? So what they can do, what's economical for them, is that they would probably advertise on online or someplace, or through referrals. They would probably ask people to tell everyone, whoever knows, that there are some jobs, and they can be filled by interviews. So they call directly to the office, and say 20 or 30 people will come in a matter of a week, and with from out of them, they can, like, the 10 best can be chosen. And I think this will be most economical in perspective of the cost, monetary cost, that the company has incurred, as well as the cost of time as well, that the company has to invest, human resource wise. Then what is the third way of recruiting people? Now I want very good people. I want people who are already working in the industry, and they are like, they have proven themselves, probably वो entry middle level jobs या फिर higher level jobs के लिए, ठीक है, I want the best people, from the industry, but I just want two or three of them, right? So now I would not go out and advertise. If I advertise in the newspaper, if I go to universities, if I go to any offices like that, or if I ask like 100 people to come to interview, like, at my office, those things are probably not the best for, the time that we've invested. And there's a better way to recruit people through this manner. Okay, so what it can be, it can be through एम्प्लॉय रिफरल. मतलब मे बी मैनेजरियल या फिर डायरेक्टोरियल लेवल पे there are some people, and you want experienced people, so you talk to them, you ask those, you refer to those people, or you refer to generally the middle level uh, employee base that you have. You ask them to refer people, right? So they will refer uh, the people who are their probably friends or relatives, or generally some uh, some intelligent, or some what do you call it, skillful personality, employee who has worked in different companies and is looking for a change, for example. तो ये सब का इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा अच्छा, सटीक ज्यादा इंफॉर्मेशन रहेगा उन लोगों के पास जो एम्प्लॉयज है वहीं पे. एंड इट्स चीप, आई डोंट हैव टू स्पेंड एनीथिंग. आई जस्ट आस्क माय एम्प्लॉयज, and they refer me through mails, through other means. They refer me five or six, the best people from the industry. Now it's easy for me to choose like two or three of them, if I get referrals of six or seven people. So this is something that we have to understand. And when a company goes to a university to recruit people en masse, that means that for example, Wipro and Tata Consultancy Services, and even other companies, Accenture, they used to recruit 20,000, 30,000, sometimes some companies 50,000 people in a year, in going through all the colleges, almost all the best colleges in the country, and interviewing so many thousands of students. So that means that they want a lot of people. Maybe कुछ नया project मिला होगा, या फिर maybe they were expanding some of their branches, and they wanted a lot of people to join and to work. So uh, so what I think is that these jobs were not the best jobs which were offered in the industry. Okay, these were not the best jobs that were offered in the industry. These were the bilkul bare minimum entry level jobs, which they wanted in large numbers. Matlab ki, like laborers, if you want laborers to be working for your organization, you want them to be large in large numbers, right? So this is what I can assume, or this is what I think, but you might differ. You might absolutely differ on the on what I've on my opinion, on what I've said. So yes, this is what I think. So coming to group discussion. So group discussion में क्या है? Group discussion is also a part in at two places at least. Like group discussion plays a huge role. Like they employed this method when they are recruiting people from colleges, and even in MBA colleges, you see that it's a very usual practice that uh, first you take a test, you clear that, then you sit for a group discussion, and then you finally chosen for an interview. And after the interview, you told if you're selected for an MBA seat or not. In IIMs, it's followed religiously. So we understand that we need to understand, at least we need to study, what happens in a group discussion. And the way I've told things, about the manners and the use and the applicability of different methods to recruit people. Okay, I've told you this, and this method is called, or all the methods that we will employ in future, you'll see that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to identify the structure कि कुछ भी है, कैसा है, क्यों है. ठीक है, what is the structure, how is it, ठीक है, how exactly is it, and the way it's made. ठीक है, the idea behind the ideology behind making anything. ठीक है, if you've made a government, if you have a parliamentary system, and if there is a different system called as presidential system, which happens in United States. So there has to be a reason, why things are different, and if there are things which are different, what effect does it have on the outcome or the process, when people go through it. So for example, there are different things to look at, and there are different things to manage, for an Indian politician going through an election. But in states, I think, because the electoral colleges that they have, I think there is some difference, and they approach their audience, or they approach their constituencies in a different manner, right? They, for example, they have debates. We don't really have debates like that. So yes. तो ग्रुप डिस्कशन को भी समझने के लिए क्या, तो मैंने ये बोला कि क्या है, what is the problem at our hand. ठीक है, the problem is that we have huge number of candidates, and I want the best out of them. So what do I do is that I make 50 people sit in a room. I say that, divide yourself into 25, like half on one side and half on the other. I throw one idea, and then I ask people to take sides, either for the idea or against the idea. And then I want people to discuss, I want people to talk. So when people are talking, think I'm observing them, and I'm trying to understand who fits my requirements best. ठीक है, I'm not looking for the best performer. ठीक है, I'm looking for the person who fits my requirement best. And what sort of a person would you think I would want? ठीक है, I would want somebody who's honest, who is diligent, who is a workhorse, who does not ask too many questions, who's intelligent enough, and not too intelligent that in a very short period of time would probably learn a lot of the skills and probably leave us. So I am not looking for exceptionally brilliant minds. Maybe some companies would, but not all companies, not for all the jobs do they require people who are brilliant. So I'm looking for certain skill sets, I'm looking for certain things, take a certain way of presentation or talking or appearance as well. You never know, anything and everything would matter. Okay, they would maybe research on you, or whatever they see or whatever they think about, even personal biases would play a role. And what I would want to say is that any method is not uh, devoid of fallacies or uh, the possibilities of mistakes that can happen, or even biases. For example, in the last class we talked about biases. In the recorded class which I've posted, I've talked about biases. If you actually go through them. um, so none of these mediums, none of these methods are effective. They're effective, but they're not fair, they're not very unbiased. And problems might exist, at places, but uh, the fact that there would be a lot of companies, and there would be so many times that we get to sit for interviews, and even sometimes we could make mistakes, and if we get another chance to appear for any other interview at any other place, probably those mistakes won't happen. And these are very normal things, these are very usual things which happen. But the more we understand about all these things, I think the lesser we have a probability of committing mistakes. तो देखो, इसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा और बोलूंगा कि ग्रुप डिस्कशन, ओके. So what happens in a group discussion? Now there are two sides, and they are supposed to speak. They're supposed to talk, and one observer would be choosing, or observing, the good or the bad parts uh, of individuals. Okay, of individuals on both the sides, for and against the argument. So even if you are in a team, we would look at certain. Yeah. देखो, I probably cannot. So देखो, I was talking about the fact that अभी there are two groups, ठीक है, there are two groups, and both groups. नहीं देखो, I was talking about the fact that how people will be judged. So there is an observer, एक observer है, वो देख रहा है, and then he's individually observing people in teams. ठीक है, मतलब कि वो अकेला इंसान को भी देख रहा है जबकि वो टीम में भी है. इसका मतलब है कि दे आर लुकिंग एट द फैक्ट दैट आप टीम में कैसा परफॉर्म कर रहे हो. ठीक है, हाउ एग्जैक्टली आर यू परफॉर्मिंग इन अ टीम, दे आर वाचिंग दैट. एंड इवन इंडिविजुअली हाउ आर यू परफॉर्मिंग, ही इज वाचिंग दैट. He's watching everything. He's watching if you have a good tone, if your tone is disrespectful, or if your volume is too high. ठीक है, body language कैसा है, are you becoming too ugly, responding to your critics. ठीक है, तो what's happening. ठीक है, even your emotional ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. ठीक है, कि आप बिल्कुल शांत थे, अभी चुपचाप थे, बट नाउ यू गेटिंग हीटेड अप एंड यू रिप्लाइंग, एंड इट्स ऑलमोस्ट एन आर्ग्यूमेंट वेयर पीपल आर शाउटिंग. दिस इज द सीन विच यूजुअली हैपेंस. Now you ask me, this is not to be done. ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए कि सर झगड़ा करना चाहिए. ठीक है, झगड़ा करने कोई नहीं बोल रहा है, लेकिन झगड़ा हो जाता है, और अगर झगड़ा हो जाए तो उसमें कैसे बचना है, या फिर उसमें कैसे स्टिल परफॉर्म करके यू स्टिल इमर्ज आउट सक्सेसफुल, एंड यू शो टू द ऑब्जर्वर दैट यू आर अ गुड एम्प्लॉय, प्रोस्पेक्टिव एम्प्लॉय. ठीक है, you've spoken, you've displayed some team playing qualities or some even leadership qualities. So what happens, ठीक है, in that 5 or 10 minutes, all your action, all your whatever you act over there, ठीक है, that will be observed. तो हमें वो थोड़ा सा समझना है कि क्या क्या चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट हो सकती हैं, क्या क्या चीजें वो देख सकते हैं. एंड the problem is that it very generally happens that only 2 or 3 people, would what do you call it, would snatch the opportunity to speak and to be seen, because they know that if you display, like, you'll be noticed. So what they do is that only 2 or 3 people would continue the argument, and they would not let there any space for others to talk. Matlab, even to people in their own teams, they would not really leave the time, and space for other people to jump in, or other people to even speak, or to add to, whatever the person is saying. So now these are situations, you probably would realize that 10 minutes have passed, 10 मिनट बीत गया, एक शब्द नहीं बोल पाया. ठीक है, तो in that situation, like, what do you do, how do you do? These are things that we have to contemplate and strategize. तो हम लोग करेंगे, हम लोग कुछ कुछ आइडियाज करेंगे, हम लोग कुछ कुछ बातें करेंगे इस पे कि क्या क्या किया जा सकता है. ठीक है, कैसे किया जा सकता है. अगर कोई ऐसा है जो बिल्कुल बहुत पैशनेटली होकर के बोला जा रहा है, ठीक है, एंड वी कैन नॉट जस्ट reply to him. ठीक है, and I'm not like that, for example. ठीक है, maybe in my personal life I'm a very humble and very innocent person, sort of person. I have good skills and I can be a good employee, but in that particular method, ठीक है, in that particular arena, ठीक है, where there are 50 people, I am not that sort of a person who would speak like that. तो मैं क्या करूं? ठीक है, अगर मुझे बोलने का मौका नहीं मिला तो मैं क्या करूं? तब तो मुझे फटाक से निकाल देगा. और वो ऑब्वियस सी बात है. यू डोंट स्पीक अ वर्ड, nobody is going to notice you at all, and they'll be like कि पता नहीं, मतलब you'll just slip away. Nobody will even realize that you existed. तो इन सब सिचुएशंस को देखना पड़ेगा, समझना पड़ेगा. एंड राइट नाउ आई वुड वांट सम ऑफ यू टू रिप्लाई. कुछ भी जितना बोला हूँ उस पर कुछ रिप्लाई कीजिए, उस पर कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछिए, फिर विल proceed towards some strategies which I will suggest. So we've talked about the some factors. We've talked about some factors that will be at play, during a group discussion. Now देखो, we've talked about the room. Probably एक room होगा, hall होगा, ठीक है, एक table होगा, ठीक है, on the left hand side and on the right hand side, 25 people, or the number of people can change, but like something like this, and there will be one observer sitting at the head of the table and then observing everyone. Now there's a topic. Two sides have taken 2 minutes of their time, and somebody wants to speak now. ठीक है, तो उसमें दो तीन चीजें छोटी मोटी होती हैं. बोलते हैं कि देखो, बिफोर स्पीकिंग यू रेज योर हैंड सो दैट आई लेट यू स्पीक, लाइक दैट, थोड़ा सा, ताकि हॉच पॉच ना हो जाए. एंड देन it's not a chaos, that happens, like, but generally it happens, like the chaos you know comes in play, like almost towards the end of the group discussion. People get passionate. Okay, now this is an observation. Okay, this is what I've seen, maybe at 50 places and 50 times, so I know that this probably happens, even especially in colleges. Like, it happens because not everybody knows how to act professionally, or even how to argument professionally in a professional environment. So people might raise their voices, and there could be some problems like that. तो ये सब चीजें हैं, ये सब परेशानियां हैं जो हमने देखी. और बात है कि स्टार्ट कैसे करना है, क्या बोलना है, कैसे करना है. तो देखो, एनी आइडिया दैट यू देखो, बात ये है कि कोई आर्गुमेंट भी कैसे करते हैं. ठीक है, किसी भी आर्गुमेंट, कुछ भी प्रेजेंटेशन करना है, ठीक है, कुछ भी बोलना है, कुछ भी अगर लिखना है, इफ यू हैव टू राइट एन आर्टिकल, ठीक है, व्हाट आर द इंग्रेडिएंट्स. ठीक है, दिस इज सो इंपॉर्टेंट. ओके, दिस इज सो इंपॉर्टेंट. व्हाट एवर यू गोइंग टू से, what will be the ingredients in your sentence, in your speech. So I think there are 2-3 things that I can do. First thing is that I can speak on the topic का मतलब क्या हुआ. टॉपिक कोई भी उठा लिया, जैसे कि for example, palm oil is for consumption, and palm oil is almost 80% of all the oils that people all over the world consume. So palm oil is dangerous, and although it's cheap, but we should replace it with other natural oils. मान लो इस बात पे कोई बोल रहा है, तो ये टॉपिक है. तो टॉपिक पे आपको ज्ञान होना चाहिए ना, थोड़ा सा नॉलेज होना चाहिए. ओके, यू मस्ट नो that Indonesia is the largest producer of palm oil in the world, and if they have done some natural damage to their environment and to their jungles. ठीक है, फिर हेल्थ का प्रॉब्लम क्या है, फैटी एसिड्स की वजह से. in America, for example, people use a lot of palm oil, or like invariably, like, because junk food, they like it comes in their like diet. तो वहां पे बहुत ओबेसिटी का प्रॉब्लम हो गया है. ठीक है, इंडिया में पहले क्या कौन कौन से ऑयल्स थे. ठीक है, जैसे कि इन द नॉर्थ पीपल प्रिफर मस्टर्ड ऑयल. In Gujarat, for example, they prefer peanut, what do you call it? Peanut oil, I think, yes. Oil extracted out of peanuts. Groundnuts, I'm so sorry, groundnuts. And then in the southern countries, in the southern states, uh, they prefer what do you call it, coconut oil, for example, for cooking and for various other purposes. तो ये सब जितना भी इंफॉर्मेशन है, अगर दो तीन चार इंफॉर्मेशन है, इफ यू नो अबाउट देम, देन यू हैव द मैटर टू स्पीक, ठीक है, देन यू हैव द मैटर टू फॉर्म योर आर्गुमेंट्स एंड देन प्रेजेंट इट टू देम. नाउ दीज इंफॉर्मेशन क्या है, थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड इंफॉर्मेशन है, उसके बाद आपके पास और भी कुछ पता होना चाहिए. पता क्या पता होना चाहिए? जैसे कि इफ सम बिग पर्सनालिटी हैज स्पोकन अबाउट देम, ठीक है, इंटरव्यूज, ठीक है, और एक्सर्प्ट्स और कोट्स, ठीक है, मतलब कि इफ यू नो दैट सम बिग पर्सनालिटी, कोई प्रेसिडेंट या कोई कहीं का कोई सोशल वर्कर या कोई नोबेल प्राइज पीस वर्क्स में like winner उसका, you never know, maybe some famous personality, some influential personality, if they have spoken about the whole idea, I think you can quote that to really strengthen your argument. ठीक है, मतलब आप जो बोल रहे हो उसका क्या फर्क पड़ता है, लेकिन अगर मान लो बिल गेट्स ने कुछ बोल दिया है तो and you quote it, and if it's about technology, the whole world will listen, like everybody would agree to it कि हाँ भाई स्टीव जॉब्स ने बोला है विंडोज का ये सिस्टम के बारे में, तो you'll be like yeah, होगा, सही होगा. तो ऑथेंटिसिटी आता है, क्रेडिबिलिटी आता है. एंड देन व्हाट एल्स कैन यू डू? नाउ देयर आर सम डेटास, ठीक है, जैसे कि लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज, एग्जांपल पीडब्ल्यूसी हो गया, या फिर हो गया पीडब्ल्यूसी इज प्राइस वाटर हाउस कूपर, ठीक है, इट्स अ बिग एनालिटिकल फर्म, कंसल्टेंट, जो बहुत सारे रिपोर्ट्स के साथ आता है, लाइक इंडस्ट्री रिपोर्ट्स रिवील करता है, और स्पेशली बहुत सारा रिसर्च भी करता है अपने क्लाइंट्स के लिए, फॉर देयर ओन business benefits and things like that. So there are big companies like which do a lot of knowledge related work. उसी तरह केपीएमजी इज ऑल्सो कंसल्टेंट, और वो बहुत सारा इंटेलिजेंस रखता है हर एक इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, एंड दे ऑल्सो कम आउट विद रिपोर्ट्स, एंड दीज रिपोर्ट्स हैव डेटा, दीज रिपोर्ट्स हैव ग्राफ्स, दीज रिपोर्ट्स हैव ऑथेंटिक क्रेडिबल डेटा विच यू कैन कोट. ठीक है, तो अगर आप यहाँ से कुछ आपने पढ़ा है, ठीक है, अगर आपने अलग अलग इंडस्ट्री का आपने रिपोर्ट्स बीच बीच में पढ़ता रहा है, ठीक है, so in a way I'm telling you what to read, like what to read. If in newspapers you're reading something, what to read. If you pick up a magazine, what do you read? If you go online, what do you read? So you read these reports and you have enormous amount of knowledge on all of these topics. ठीक है, तो give me a second, okay, give me a second. Okay, we'll continue. So I was saying that अच्छा, प्लीज कोई रिपीट करेगा, क्या बोल रहा था मैं? यस, सो आई सेड दैट दीज रिपोर्ट्स, जैसे केपीएमजी हो गया, पीडब्ल्यूसी हो गया, and a lot of other like companies, I cannot recall their names right now, but there are so many companies which come out with intelligence reports. कई बार कंट्रीज का आता है, अलग अलग पूरे वर्ल्ड का आता है, इंडिया में अलग अलग एरियाज का आता है, बहुत सारे अलग अलग टाइप का रिपोर्ट्स निकलते हैं वो लोग. So you read those reports, and if you can quote even one data out of that, okay, if you can quote anything out of that, if you can just say that according to 2019 KPMG report, it is slated that the railways would do a profit of 10,000 crores because I don't know what. तो आपका बहुत क्रेडिबल हो जाएगा, ठीक है, मतलब जो भी आप बोलोगे आई थिंक बहुत क्रेडिबल हो जाएगा. तो डिडंट यू सी दैट इफ यू हैव टू स्पीक, ठीक है, व्हाट यू हैव टू स्पीक also matters. So what I said, talk about the idea, talk about the matter, ठीक है, what the content should have, maybe some quotes, your own thoughts about it, on it, and then you strengthen your ideas by quotes and quoting these reports, या फिर newspaper reports, things like that. So yes, so now we'll come back to the point that ये सब चीज आपको पता होना चाहिए, और ये सब आपको बोलना है, इस तरह से आपको बोलना पड़ेगा, आप ये सब बोलेंगे. एंड नाउ विल कम टू द डायनेमिक्स ऑफ ग्रुप डिस्कशन. ठीक है, कि स्टार्टिंग से देखेंगे क्या होता है, कैसे होता है. तो somebody like there are two factions, पूरा क्लासरूम, पूरा वो सिचुएशन बता दिया ना. यू कैन इमेजिन द होल क्लासरूम, hall and people sitting. Now somebody gets up, somebody raises their hands and proposes that he or she will start the speech, or probably the discussion. तो वो बोलता है अपना, और अपना पॉइंट बोलता है, ठीक है, he gets 2 minutes of time, बोलता है अपना पूरा पोजीशन. Now, you can wait for the person to end his speech and then the next person can reply, right? But what if the person does not shut his mouth, does not finish his speech, and maybe the other people in his own group are ready to speak, तो बात है कि आपको चांस ही नहीं मिला, तो वो चांस कैसे लेना है मैं ये सिखाऊंगा, ठीक है? तो इसमें मैं ये बताऊंगा कि देखो, दे आर कीवर्ड्स, ओके, दे आर कीवर्ड्स, एंड दीज कीवर्ड्स हैव अ लॉट ऑफ uh, uh, meaning, and a lot of significance. Like, uh, what do you call it? It has context, and the context can be uh, the context can be rich, but there can be so many things in the it can be, well, there can be so many variables in that context. तो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि अगर फॉर एग्जांपल नेचर का, जिस उसने बोल दिया कि नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज के बारे में कुछ हल्का सा उसने बोल दिया, और पाम ऑयल वाला वो आप याद कीजिए कि वी टुक द एग्जांपल ऑफ पाम ऑयल। तो पाम ऑयल पे ही मान लो कि सामने वाला बंदा कुछ कुछ बोल रहा है, एंड देन यू हैव टू कट शॉर्ट हिज स्पीच, एंड देन यू हैव टू लाइक you have to speak, you have to take your time, ठीक है? You trying to place your arguments, तो यू कैन यूज दीज कीवर्ड्स एज द टर्निंग पॉइंट, ठीक है? मतलब है कि अगर वो बोल रहा है कि ओ दिस 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 दिस, एंड द मोमेंट ही टॉक्स अबाउट नेचर, और फॉर एग्जांपल ही टॉक्स अबाउट नेचर, एंड वो वो सपोर्ट कर रहा है पाम ऑयल के प्रोडक्शन को, तो आप फटाक से नेचर के ही पॉइंट को पिक करके आप बोलो कि ओ बट glad that you talked about nature and forest deforestation or displacement of natural flora and fauna is the biggest problem in Indonesia, because 70% of the whole world's consumption of palm oil is being produced in Indonesia, by Indonesia. So Indonesia may, for example, on a very large scale, deforestation has happened, and what they have are plantations now instead of jungles. तो 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 मतलब मैं ये बताया कि आप कुछ कुछ पॉइंट पे यू कैन कट शॉर्ट अदर पीपल, you can proceed with your speech, you can proceed with your sentences without the other person, without letting the other person finish theirs, because competition है ना, competition क्या है? टाइम क्या है? लिमिटेड है टाइम, बस आपके पास 5 मिनट से 10 मिनट्स का टाइम है, उसमें 50 पीपल को बोलना है, तो there's such shortage of time that people want opportunity to speak, and they would cut short you at any point of time. So you probably need to be fluent. You probably need to be making sense. Your sentences should be crisp and full of informative knowledge that they cannot really cut short you like that. But if you would want to speak your sentences, I think the strategy which you can use is observing, like completely tracing every word of a sentence, and wherever you get a chance, you can probably flip by giving a contrary statement. ठीक है? मतलब जवाब उसका आप दीजिए, जवाब उसका तैयार रहिए कि जवाब क्या क्या हो सकता है। 50 चीजें हैं आपके दिमाग में, एंड व्हेन यू सी वन पॉइंट विच मेक्स सेंस, वहां पे आप अपना जवाब दीजिए और उसको काउंटर कीजिए। सो विथ एक्सपीरियंस, लाइक थोड़ा सा आप प्रैक्टिस करोगे तो आपको दिखेगा अलग अलग चीज से क्या होता है, ठीक है? कभी कभी कोई कुछ बोल भी नहीं पाता है, और कभी कभी 2-3 लोग ही बहुत बोलते रहते हैं, और किसी और को अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिलता है, तो उसमें क्या करना है? आई थिंक दिस इज व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू लर्न। देखो, 2 मिनट का क्वेश्चन कुछ भी पूछना है, उसके बाद एक और सजेशन दूंगा, मतलब एक और क्या बोलते हैं, स्ट्रैटेजी हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे, एंड देन यू आर फ्री टू डिस्कस ऑल और बिल्ड ऑन और थिंक अबाउट और इवन प्रैक्टिस योर ओन स्ट्रैटेजी। इफ यू वांट टू डिस्कस यू कैन। अभी जो बताया उस पर कुछ किसी को पूछना है तो बताओ। चलो ठीक है, I'll discuss one more strategy, one more situation. देखो, I said a little while ago that there are few people who are ready to talk, they're confident enough, and they have been like that, they do not have a problem with speaking in public. But there could be few people really intelligent and really capable, but they probably do not have this attitude or this style, of maybe shouting, or probably even being at a place where, where two three people are shouting and are arguing. तो उसमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, उसमें क्या करना चाहिए, उसमें क्या कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, उसमें क्या कर सकते हैं, व्हाट कैन वी डू अबाउट दैट? तो दिस इज वन ऑफ माय सजेशंस. एंड देखो, if you ever you see in any given circumstance that whatever I'm trying to teach, or whatever opinions or whatever suggestions, or whatever ideas that I'm presenting seems to be maybe slightly negative, in its outlook, or I don't know, if you think that it is not the most like the best thing to do, like good hota hai, that you be a good person, and then you behave well with people, and then you do not preempt a strike. मतलब कि अगर पता है कि कोई आर्गुमेंट होने वाला है तो पहले से ही हमला कर दो, something like this. These things are there which does not need to be done. ठीक है, if only the situation arises, then you do it. And what I'm trying to say is that अगर कभी भी आप एग्री नहीं करते हो मेरे आइडियाज से, तो अग्री करने का जरूरत नहीं है. बात यह है कि जो भी मैं बता रहा हूं, what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to make sure that nobody gets bullied. मतलब if you have strength within you, then you go to an environment where there are problems, where there are people who might bully you, then you're prepared and you don't get bullied. So it's for your defense, ठीक है, not for an attack. It's not that in any argument, in every argument, you have to win an argument, and that's how you prevail. In fact, a lot of times, if you probably lose an argument, that would result into a better friendship. You never know. And then even professional goals can be reached. मतलब दो कंपनीज जो एक दूसरे से compete कर रहा है, मान लो कि एक बंदा एक कंपनी, like it offers a friendship hand, and it says कि कोई बात नहीं, I don't want to compete with you. Maybe you have a dynamics now, and then you both can exploit the market together. ठीक है, तो it can result in synergy. So everything is different. And what I'm trying to say is that any of these ideas can be used by you according to the kind of personality that you have. ठीक है, any strength, if at all it's a strength, or if it's an intelligence, or मतलब की information, तो it's on you, but I would just like to highlight a few things. I would only try to make you think, uh, and that's what I would want to do. I don't want to impose my own ideas, on anyone. Okay. So this is a situation where I'm classically looking at a person who does not want to fight, does not want to argue, does not want to shout, in a professional setting. And he's a calm person, and he's composed, and this is not his style. Okay, this is simply not his style, but he's intelligent. Now he has things to say. How does he say that? ठीक है, क्या हुआ, तो दो तीन लोगों ने इधर उधर, like on both the sides, they have started speaking, and it's resulting into an atmosphere where things are getting tensed. ठीक है, and it's almost like an argument where people are almost like shouting, but they're not really shouting right now. ठीक है, what seems is that they're really passionate. ठीक है, now I see that they're really passionate and they're really enthusiastic, but the kind of energy that they have, now it's difficult for me to match that energy. ठीक है, समझ रहे हो, मतलब it's difficult for me to match that energy, and now I have to reply, I have to make an impression because I have a very good point to make. ठीक है, तो अब मैं क्या बोलूं, क्या करूं? तो देखो, यहाँ पे टोन का वेरिएशन आप यूज कर सकते हो. ठीक है, जब कोई चिल्ला रहा है, जब कोई तेज बोल रहा है, तो उसका साउंड का फ्रीक्वेंसी ज्यादा है. ठीक है, तो वो चिल्ला रहा है, तेज बोल रहा है. नाउ टू काउंटर दैट, ठीक है, व्हाट डू यू डू इज दैट यू प्रेजेंट अ बैरीटोन. ठीक है, मतलब आप फ्रीक्वेंसी कम करोगे अपना, तो आपका साउंड, म्यूजिक में हम लोग बोलते हैं कि इट्स मोर बेस. ठीक है, इट्स मोर बेसिक, लाइक ट्रेबल और बेस होता है ना, तो इट्स मोर बेस, तो मतलब फ्रीक्वेंसी उसका कम है. ठीक है, तो द साउंड इज डिफरेंट, राइट? For example, women have a higher frequency sound, and then men would have a lower frequency sound. तो it can be differentiated. तो अगर आप उस टाइप का एक टोन लेकर के बोलोगे, तो आई थिंक दिस इज वन point where your voice would be recognized because it's in a different frequency than everybody else is, ठीक है, everybody is speaking in a high frequency, तो आपका वहां पे notice हो सकता है, और वो हल्का सा एक ऐसा moment आएगा when everybody looks at you because it's a different noise, it's a different voice which has come. And you can relate this with some advertisements which come on radio. What happens in a radio advertisement? आप देखते हो कि the songs are being played on a certain volume, you know, all the ads are being played on a certain volume. Suddenly what happens, there is one ad which is played on a very high volume. अचानक से दिमाग खराब होता है, अरे क्या हो गया, इतना तेज क्यों हो गया, and then you probably, like, you know, lower the volume. But the moment the thing to notice is that it caught your attention, and I think it was done deliberately, ठीक है, to catch your attention. This is a technique which has been followed since decades, like, you know. तो वो हुआ ना, मतलब you got noticed, right? You got noticed, and even if you probably hate it, but even then you at least noticed it out of all the other 15 or 20 advertisements which were played simultaneously, like with it, like, you know. um, so yes, this is something that you can do. Now now I would extend this same situation, और थोड़ा सा आगे जाके मैं बोलूंगा कि now imagine that वो आर्गुमेंट चल रहा है, और there is one person whom you speaking to, and you know, आप भी रिप्लाई कर रहे हैं, बात हो रहा है, but as I said, that it's not your style to be loud, but the person in front of you is getting slightly louder, but it's still you know, under that limit, you know, where I might see it as passion, you know, I might see it as overt enthusiasm. तो तो बात ये है कि now this can be like, you know, debatable that if this is the most honorable thing to do or not. But if in a situation like this, it depends on you if you use it or not. Okay, and it depends on the person. Maybe I'm suggesting that this particular idea is for those people who are disadvantaged at a certain level, you know, on some manners, on some ways, in some ways. तो देखो वो क्या कर रहा है कि मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि the level is already on the brim, you know, it's almost that it's full of passion, and then it's not your style to respond in the same manner. So what I can do is that you're still talking, and he's presenting his ideas, his arguments, you countering his arguments, बात चल रहा है, आप आर्ग्यू कर रहे हो, कुछ भी बोल रहे हो, तो उसमें क्या है कि आप थोड़ा सा अपना इस पे देखो कि how your temper is. ठीक है, you'll realize that if you have a very composed temper, and if you're still replying the other person, you know, in the argument, you'll see that the other person who's really passionate would get infuriated. ठीक है, उसको अजीब सा गुस्सा आएगा कि अरे मैं तो आर्ग्यू कर रहा हूँ, I'm speaking, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, और ये सामने वाला बंदा, इस पे कुछ इफेक्ट ही नहीं हो रहा है, ये तो स्माइल करके बैठा हुआ है जैसे कि कुछ मतलब ही नहीं है, and he's taking it so lightly, like, you know, I'm so passionately delivering my things, but he's sitting so calmly, like, you know, he does not mind much, and he does not give me importance, you know, he would have a feeling like that. And then if you have the if you can identify those keywords and those points which which in particular he is really passionate about, ठीक है, which in particular he is really passionate about, I think if you pinpoint, or if you poke those areas, those points, those words, I think that, you know, the person in front of you, so passionate a fellow, I think he would slightly uh, start losing his cool or his composure. What I'm trying to say is that you might fiddle with the temper of the person in front of you by your own conduct and your own actions. ठीक है, आपका आपका टेम्पर को कंट्रोल करके you can probably fiddle around with the temper of other people, and then the observer would see that, oh my god, this person is so calm and composed and so confident and is not shouting at all, and this person whom everybody was looking at somebody who was really passionate, now he starts appearing in a light which is not so bright. ठीक है, मतलब अब ऐसा लग रहा है कि oh, this person is shouting, Earlier you probably thought he's passionate, but now you think, oh, he's probably shouting, and he's losing his control, he's losing his temper. So uh, that would reflect negatively on the observer. And I think this is a good method for those people who cannot really participate in such a loud, competition, for them to be recognized and to be successful, in this method, a method called a group discussion, for the next round. Okay, what do you have to say about this now?